So, I was ghosted by a writer for The New Yorker. Um, I was really upset about it, but then I realized this is like funny. Like, this is good material because I'm like Taylor Swift. Um, if she wrote jokes and her bangs were uneven and her net worth was negative the amount that she owes in student loans. Yeah, this is a first time for me. Like I've never been ghosted before. I've also never dated anyone that I want to be. Um I've been trying to explain to people like it feels like I got a rejection letter from a job that I really wanted, but that rejection letter was super personalized. Um like it would go like, "Dear Amy, we regret to inform you that after reviewing your application, your qualifications were not a good fit for this position, or any position that we'd like to see you in. We've decided to sleep with another candidate. It's best, or at least better than you, Conde Nast." Like, I feel bad about myself, but I also feel kind of special. And I love this sentence. I love saying, like, I was ghosted by a writer for The New Yorker because the tone really changes depending on where you put the emphasis on the sentence. Like, if I were saying, I was ghosted by a writer for The New Yorker, that's kind of like a glass half empty mentality. Whereas if I say, like, I was ghosted by a writer for The New Yorker, kind of sounds like I'm humble bragging, you know? On the other hand, if I'm like, I was ghosted by a writer for The New Yorker, it's like, girl, you spilled your drink everywhere. We get it. A hot, accomplished person disrespected you. Like, aren't you kind of into that? Because you know what he's not saying? I'm a writer from The New Yorker and I ghosted a Substack writer. Actually, the main crime is that he's not saying anything. Like, he's busy writing articles about opioid addiction. You're writing a little stand up about your toxic man addiction. Like, what are you still going on about? Isn't it obvious? I want revenge. This experience has turned me into the underdog. I want to get even. I want to feel equal. And for women, that requires overcompensating. So the only way to get even is to get a comic into the New Yorker. And then I need to get several comics into the New Yorker. And then I need to become a full-time New Yorker cartoonist. And then I need to get nominated for the Pulitzer in illustrated reporting and commentary. And then I need to win the Pulitzer. And then, fuck! Would I have to thank this guy in my acceptance speech? To my beloved and our two little ones at home, and everyone who has supported me on this journey to get here. But most of all, I'd like to thank those who didn't. What an incredible night to honor perseverance of spite. Thank you. Right? So, like, the way to get back at him is to, like, still be talking about him 30 years later. Okay. Okay, so I think the way to get back at him is to write jokes that are more about myself. Okay, so where's the punchline? Uh, Let me think. Okay, well here's a funny story. So it was really funny. I was standing in the grocery store line and I was just hit with this wave of sadness because I was just thinking about how sad it was that I was waiting for this text message. It was just so sad that I cared so much about getting this text message, that I had tied so much of my self worth to getting this fucking text message. And you know how iMessage will like use a photo for the contact, and if you don't upload a photo or if they don't choose a photo, then it just uses the first initial of the name. And of course, his name starts with this letter that is just like perfect and symmetrical and even. and getting this message would feel like an omen. And it was so funny. I was standing in this grocery store line, like super depressed, and I decided to check my text messages because I had sent a screenshot of a recipe to myself. I texted it to myself. And I realized that the photo I selected for my contact was this. So I was standing in the grocery store line when I realized that no matter how cool or emotionally detached I tried to sound over text message, this is how I appeared to him. Like, can you imagine receiving a "you up" text from this? Like, imagine being a writer for the New Yorker and you just finished your article on opioid addiction, and then you get a booty call from this. It kills me that I groveled for the attention of a writer from the New Yorker, but it kills me even more that Garfield groveled for his attention. Like, to the point where I am almost surprised that I was even given a chance in the first place. Um, and that's such a bad feeling. That's such a terrible thing to think about myself and Garfield. But bad feelings can be funny because if you've ever written jokes, they tell you that tension is funny, asymmetry is funny, comparison is funny. Even self-deprecation and punching up, if done right, are hopefully funny. And that's why I love comedy, because it turns all these awful, ugly emotions into things that are funny. Like, what a fucking superpower to turn feelings of insecurity and loneliness into two comics, a short film script, and a musical comedy sketch. So, if that was the punchline, which is that a writer from the New Yorker ghosted a fat cat who loves lasagna and hates Mondays, why am I still talking? I think because I was ghosted by a writer from the New Yorker and I was upset about it, and then I realized it was funny. And then I wrote a whole stand-up about it, and I was still upset. And it's because the truth is not changed by the punchline or the joke. The truth is that I'm not some bootleg Taylor Swift, nor am I some underdog to root for. He's not just like a writer from the New Yorker or some omniscient glowing orb. The truth is that we're two people who are nothing to each other. And it's embarrassing how sad that was for me. But like I said, comedy helps me process things. It points out ironies and inconsistencies. And I learned that maybe I'm like a bit more insecure and more lonely than I'd like to admit. And that maybe being funny or published is not the only thing I want in life after all. And that's like a terrible punchline. But this did the job. I think I'm done thinking about it, talking about it, even if it wasn't funny in the end.